สวัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านครับยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่ Fuukana-TV นะครับใน The Stanley Parable นะครับเมื่อกี้ไม่ใช่เมื่อกี้แหละนะผมออกจากไอ้ที่มันให้ออกเมื่อกี้ผมนึกว่ามันจะออกจากเกมไปเลยแต่มันยังไม่ใช่นะฮะเดี๋ยวเราจะมาดูกันว่าหลังจากที่ตายไปแล้วเมื่อกี้ถ้ามันกลับขึ้นมาจะเป็นเหมือนเดิมหรือเปล่าสรุปกลับมาก็เหมือนเดิมนะแสดงว่านั่นเป็นแบบรูทตายมั้ง
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
สงสัยต้องไปหารูทใหม่ผมว่าจริงก็ใกล้หมดแล้วมั้งหรือเปล่าหรือมันยังมีอีกเยอะผมไม่แน่ใจอาจจะยังมีอีกเยอะแหละเอาเฮ้ยเดี๋ยวนี่ไม่เหมือนเดิมครับไม่เหมือนเดิมหรือเปล่าวะ
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
หรือผมคิดไปเองวะ
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
ผมคิดไปเองวะเนี่ยผม
perfectly well. Perhaps he
คือแบบ
wanted to stop by
มัน
the employee
เริ่ม
lounge
เกม
first,
แบบ
just to
บ่อยมาก
admire
ซะจนตอนนี้เริ่มจำอะไรไม่ได้แล้วอะคิดดูดิ
Stanley felt lightheaded,
เฮ้ยมันเป็นอย่างนั้นจริงๆอะเนี่ย
butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
โอเคเดี๋ยวจะลงไปข้างล่างมันมีทางออกอยู่มั้งเฮ้ยไม่ใช่มันมีอยู่เนี่ยมันมีอีกทางเลือกหลายๆอันนะฮะที่ต้องลงไปทางนั้นลองดูอย่างในตอนแรกที่อะไรนะกดไอ้ปุ่มใช่ไหมก็ยังมีอยู่นะผมจำไม่ได้แล้วว่าถ้าเกิดเดินลงไปข้างล่างเนี่ยจะมีอะไรบ้าง2485นะฮะ
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk.What could its purpose be?
หรือเลขมันเปลี่ยนตลอดเวลา
In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret
2845
below his feet. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
มีการแบบว่าถ้าเกิดว่าเรารีบกดตั้งแต่ตอนที่บรรยายยังไม่เสร็จ โอ้มีอย่างงี้ด้วยโอ้โหแต่เพลงโอเคอยู่นะ
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
มีขนาดนี้เลยเหรอเนี่ยแหมก็ดีนะเดี๋ยวมึงไม่เล่นตุกติกเลยกูนะไม่มีครับมันจะมีทางที่ให้เราเปิดเราเลือกว่าจะเปิดหรือจะปิด My Control ก็มีอยู่นะอาจจะลองไปดูตรงนู้นก่อนผมว่าคิดว่าตรงนั้นน่าจะแปลกสรุปก็คือถ้าเกิดว่าเรากด Escape ตั้งแต่ตอนนั้นเราก็จะไม่ตายมั้งหรือเปล่าอาจจะต้องไปลองอีกรอบหนึ่งแต่ตรงนี้เรามาตั้งแต่ตอนแรกแล้วที่ตามมานะฮะ
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
พอมันผ่านมาแล้วก็ไม่รู้จะพูดอะไรมาก
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
เรียก
This
ลิฟต์มาเหรอ
mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
ดีไม่ดีต้องตรงห้องที่ผู้บรรยายถ้าเกิดว่าผมดูดีๆมันอาจจะแบบว่านี่ก็ได้นะ
His own life in someone else's control? Never.
เพราะว่ามันได้ยินเสียงคนที่พากมาแม่งวนอยู่รอบหูน่ากลัว
Was it
มาก
even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
แหมมันก็
But here was the proof.
พากซะขนาดนี้
The
นะ
heart
ฮะ
of the operation. Controls labeled with
ผมพวกนี้ผม
emotions.
กดไม่ได้
Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
เดี๋ยวลองกดตามลำดับดูดิใช่เพราะตอนที่คราวที่แล้วที่มาจำไม่ได้ว่ามันมีอยู่แค่กี่ปุ่มอะ4 5และE 4 3 2ไม่ใช่1 2 3อยู่ไหนวะทางนี้เข้าได้ป่ะผมเคยลองยังวะอ๋อนี่ไงเข้าไม่ได้1 2 3อยู่ไหนวะหา3ไม่เจอแล้วอยู่ไหนมันหายไปป่ะหาเจอแต่1 กับ 2จริงๆนะเนี่ยต้องกดตามออเดอร์หรือเปล่าเนี่ยข้างล่างก็ไม่มีอะไรนะฮะนี่กดไม่ได้นะกดไปมันก็ดูเหมือนไม่มีอะไรเกิดขึ้นน่ะเพราะหาเลข 3ไม่เจอแหม
And when at last he found the source of the room's power. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley?
Whoa.
It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shed it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
กดได้หมดเลยเนี่ย
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
ปุ่มสีแดงเนี่ยเหรอ
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway.
Incorrect.
I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next round will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what?
มึงอย่าเพิ่ง enjoy มากได้ไหมมึง
I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw the timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world.
คือไม่รู้ว่ามันจริงหรือเปล่าไง
But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
อ้าวกำ
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending. Just you being blown to pieces.
Enable backup power to activate.
Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke.
กูปิดได้งั้นเหรอ
I will be laughing
จะเดินทันหรือเปล่าไม่รู้นะ
inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever
ป้อม เดินไม่ทันโอ้ยแม่งโคตรเหมือนเลยอย่างกับในหนังแต่ยังงงอ่ะว่าจะกดปุ่มยังไง
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
แต่เริ่มมาคราวนี้ไม่เหมือนเดิมนะ
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
หรือว่ามันเป็นแค่บทที่เปลี่ยนไปเรื่อยๆ
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
แต่ยังสงสัยกับไปห้องนั้นอยู่อะ
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
ไหนลองดูซิว่าสมมติว่าถ้าเกิดว่าเรา
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult.
ไอห้องที่เราเป็นบ้าห้องไหนวะใช่ห้องนี้ป่าวะ
What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why?
ไม่น่าจะใช่ตรงนี้ที่มันเป็น
convince you of this, but I really do want to help you to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully. This is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
เดี๋ยวผมจะเดินเข้าไปในห้องที่เป็นสีแดงที่มันทำสวยๆไปนะ
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly.
เนี่ยผมเห็นตรงนี้แล้วแต่ว่าเราเดินเข้าไปแล้ว
Through the red. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I just wanted to stop. I would We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
ฮะเอามีห้อง2 ห้องเลยนะเอางี้เลยเหรอแวบมีอะไรอย่างนี้
What do we want? What are we looking for?
อะไรวะเนี่ยว้าว
Here. Yes.
Yes.
It's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
ตาดาแหมแฮปปี้มากไหมมึงว้าวอยู่นานไปมันจะดีไหมเนี่ยฮะไม่ได้เล่นทริคอะไรกับกูใช่ไหมเดินลงดีกว่า
No, wait. Where are you going?
ก็ไม่รู้จะให้กูยืนแฮปปี้ตรงนั้นน่ะนะ
Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
อ๋อเหมือนฆ่าตัวตายอ่ะข้างบนมันไม่มีอะไรเลยนอกจากแบบว่าให้เรากระโดดตายใช่ไหม
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
ดันโว้ถ้ากลับลงไปจะเป็นอะไรไหมกูโดดตายกูไม่สนเลยกูไม่ตายเว้ย
Thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room? There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
เดี๋ยวเดี๋ยวเรากระโดดตายได้ไหมตรงนี้ไม่ได้เว้ยไม่เอานะมึงจะแฮปปี้อะไรของมึงนักหนาเนี่ยฮะมันจะหายไปไหมเนี่ยเหมือนมันจะค่อยๆจางนะเฮ้ยกูหลบดีกว่า
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
ยังมีอีกเหรอที่มึงก็แฮปปี้เกินไปนะกูไม่แฮปปี้กับมึงอ่ะกูไม่แฮปปี้กับมึงแฮปปี้แล้วเรา
No, what do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
กูไม่เชื่อมึงแล้วจะแฮปปี้อะไรนักหนาของมึงเนี่ยแล้วกูก็ไม่ตายอยู่ดี
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Yes, perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
อะไรวะ What?
No, perhaps not.
อะไรเหรอต้องให้กูทำไปกี่รอบเนี่ยฮะ
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know
ลองอีก
anymore.
รอบดิ
I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
ไหนวะเฮ้ยตาย
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
โอ้ยยังไม่เหมือนเดิมนะฮะรู้ยังไม่จบประตูอีกอะ
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
ทำไมยังกลับมาเป็น
And
เหมือน
here
เดิ
it
มอ่ะ
was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
ไม่มั้ง
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
เดี๋ยว
ago.
ลองดูห้องที่เป็นแบบหลอนๆนะที่เคยเป็นตอนนั้นดิ
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be
แต่ต้องดึง
difficult,
สาย
but
โทร
the
ศัพท์ออก
fact
ก่อน
is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work
ตกใจตรงนี้
aside.
ทุกทีแหละ
To
แม่ง
let her
เสียง
back
ดัง
into your life. She's been waiting.
ขอสายโทร
That's
ศัพท์ค
all,
รับ
Stanley. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to the apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
ฮัลโหล
I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run
ต้อง
around
มี
in
การ
this
เป็น
game for so
ทูทอเรียล
long.
อีกนะ
If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best
กูข้ามได้ไหมเนี่ย
part of being a real person.
ข้ามไม่
But
ได้
if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario,
Man.
a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes
ระหว่างให้
sense,
สูบบุหรี่
and
กับ
at
เผา
no
เด็ก
time should you make a choice that does
ไม่แย่
not
ทั้งคู่
conform
อะ
to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back sack and crack."
นี่คือการฝึกซ้อมเหรอเนี่ยฝึกซ้อมก็คือตัวเราเนี่ยแหละมั้ง
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making
หรือมันไม่แค่แบบ
process.
ว่าหัวข้อไม่
Most
รู้
medical
ผมงง
professionals
ตรงเนี้ย
recommend
แบบมัน
making
ดู
at
แบบ
least
เฮ้ย
8 choices
อะไรวะ
per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
โอเคจบยัง
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
ต้องย้อนกลับไปอีกแล้วเนี่ย เหมือนจะเล่นมาแล้วนะตรงนี้หรือว่าเราเลือกผิดวะกระโดดลงไปไม่ได้ด้วยนะ
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all.
ถ้าเกิดว่ากลับไปรูทเดิมเนี่ยผมก็เสียเวลาอยู่เหมือนกันนะเนี่ย
Before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
โอ้ยเซ็งเลยต้องกลับไปในห้องเขียวอีกแน่เลยห้องนี้เป็นหัวหน้าอ๋อหรือจะจบแบบไอ้นั่นวะ
Almost there. You'll take the door on the
ที่
left.
ผมไป
Back to the
ยืนอยู่
correct
ข้างบน
ending. The story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as
น่าจะ
Stanley
ใช่นะ
would. That means choosing responsibly and
ใช่
always
ที่
putting the
แบบว่าถ้า
story
เกิดมาทางขวา
first.
แล้วจะพัง
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
จำได้ว่าถ้าเกิดไปทางขวาคือเดี้ยงพังหรือเปล่าเนี่ยห้องไม่พัง
Yet there
นะ
was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
อ๋อนี่มี
Coming to a
ปิดตรงนี้
staircase,
ด้วย
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
น่าจะลงไป
office.
ข้างล่างมั้งเราเปิดประตูเองไม่ได้อ๋อนี่ไงห้องเขียวอีกแล้วโอ้ยเสียเวลาว่ะ
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley
เดี๋ยวนะผมว่าทางนี้มันรูทเดิมฮะเอาใหม่ เอาใหม่เหอะไม่ไหวรูทเดิมผมต้องลงไปข้างล่างโอ้ยเสียเวลาว่ะขออภัยโอเคครับเอาใหม่เดี๋ยวลงไป
All of his
ทางบันได
coworkers
ข้างล่าง
were
นะ
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ข้างล่างที่ตอนนั้นที่เราหลอนน่ะถ้าเกิดว่าเราเดินไปเร็วมันจะหายหลอนป่าวะ
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
ผมว่ารูทมันก็ที่จริงก็น่าจะใกล้หมดแล้วมั้งมันมีอยู่กี่อันน่ะ
Yet there was not a single
มี
person
20
here
ป่ะเนี่ยผมไม่รู้ว่าผมจบมากี่
Feeling
อันแล้วก็ไม่
a
รู้
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his
ไม่นับอัน
boss's
ไม่นับ
office.
อันหยุมหยิม
Coming
นะ
to a
ผมไม่รู้ผมจะ
staircase,
ทำหรือเปล่าถ้าเกิดว่าเป็น
Stanley
พวกอันห
walked
ยุมหยิม
upstairs to his boss's office.
เนี่ยทางนี้แหละที่มันหลอน
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He
แล้วผม
might
ก็
be
ผมจะ
fired
เดิน
for that.
ใช่เนี่ยห้องนี้แห
And
ละ
in
ร้อน
such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley
สรุป
pondered
ก็
this,
คือทาง
he
นี้ก็
began
คื
to
อ
make
จบ
other
อย่างนี้เลย
strange
ใช่ไหม
observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange.
จบ
This
แบบบ้า
can't
เน
be
อะ
real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the
ผม
words
อยาก
for it.
บินได้อะ
I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream.
โอ้ยจบอันนี้มันจบเร็วนะจบเร็วไปหน่อยแต่เรื่องปุ่มเนี่ยผมไม่รู้ว่ามันจะทำยังไงอะเด็ใช่ไหมล่ะมาลองอีกอัน
All
นึ
of
ง
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
พยายามนึกอยู่ว่ามันมีอะไรที่เรายังไม่ได้ลอง
When
ทำบ้าง
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the
ไอ
correct
ไอ
way to
ห้อง
the meeting
ไอ
room,
ห้องที่
and
ให้
Stanley
เปิ
knew
ด
it
อันนั้นน่ะ
perfectly well.
ยังผมยัง
Perhaps
จำไม่ได้
he
ว่า
would
ต้อง
have
ทำยัง
stopped
ไง
by the employee lounge
ไม่ใช่เดี๋ยวผม
first,
ยังไม่รู้ต้อง
just to
ทำยังไง
admire it.
อาจจะต้องไปดูเฉลยด้วยซ้
It was okay.
ก็แบบประมาณว่ามัน
But
กด
eager to get
ปุ่ม
back
1
to
2 3 4 5
business,
ตาม
Stanley
ลำดับ
took
แล้ว
the
มันก็ยังไม่
first
ได้อะ
open door on his left.
มันต้องมีทางให้ทำแหละแต่ว่าลงมาทางนี้มันอะไรวะผมลืมแล้ว ลืมแล้วอะมันมีช้อยหยุ่มหยิมอีกเยอะเอาไงดีสมมุติลองเข้าประตูแดงมันจะเป็นเหมือนเดิมปะ
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've
ถ้าสมมติว่า
gotten
รับ
off
โทร
on
ศั
the
พท์ที่จริง
wrong
มันจะมี
foot
อีกทาง
here.
ที่เดิน
I'm not your
ที่เดินไป
enemy,
ได้
really,
แต่ไม่รู้
I'm
มันจะมี
not.
ประตูเข้าป่ะ
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can
Don't do
be
it.
difficult, but the fact is that the story... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
ถ้าไปทางประตูสีแดงมันจะเป็นเหมือนเดิม
Oh,
เลยป่ะไม่รู้
thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two
เหมือนเดิมฮะให้กรรมตอนนี้จะเป็นตอนทดลองนะฮะใครแม็กอยู่ตั้งแต่ตอนแรกแล้วตอนนี้คือมันแบบเหมือนประมาณว่าตอบปัญหาสงสัยอะไรเงี้ยตอบข้อสงสัย
Wait,
ที่แบบว่า
Stanley thought to himself, am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
แต่บาง
When
ทีห้องมัน
Stanley
เปลี่ยน
came to
นะ
a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
ถ้าสมมติว่ารับโทรศัพท์เมียมันลองดู
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
ที่จริงรูทมันน่าจะใกล้หมดแล้วล่ะ
Okay.
ผมว่ามันคงไม่ละเอียดขนาดนั้น
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open
อย่าง
door
สมมติว่า
on
ถ้า
his
เกิดว่า
left.
ในเกมที่ผมกดให้
Stanley was
เด็ก
so
ไม่โดน
bad at
ไฟ
following
ไหม้
directions,
อย่างเงี้ย
It's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
ลองรับโทรศัพท์เมียอีกรอบหนึง
Look,
ก่อน
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really.
แล้วถ้า
I
ลงอย่าง
realize
เงี้ย
that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but in
ก็
his
ตายอยู่ดี
eagerness
อะ
to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
มีวิธีที่จะทำให้ไม่ตายไหมเพราะว่าเห็นประตู
Everyone
เปิดอยู่
thinks
ข้าง
you
ล่าง
are very powerful.
แต่ทุกครั้งที่เริ่มใหม่ห้องก็ไม่เหมือนเดิม
Stanley
ทุกที
came to
นะ
a set of 2 open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the
กลับ
first
ไปรับโทรศัพ
open
ท์เมียอี
door
กรอบ
on his left.
น่าจะมีทางหนีอยู่ว่า
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your
สรุป
trust
คือลง
in
ไปข้างล่าง
someone
ไม่ได้เลย
else
มัน
can
ไม่
be
มีที่ที่มัน
difficult,
สูงพอ
but
ที่
the
จะดูเหมือน
fact
ไม่
is
ตาย
that
เลย
the
สัก
story
ที่
has
หนึ่ง
been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me,
แวบ
I'm asking for her.
กูรู้แล้วเดี๋ยวกูจะรับโทรศัพท์
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's
love
her,
it.
Stanley.
กูรับแล้วแล้วตอนนี้เราก็จะยังขยับตัวไม่ได้นะฮะ
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Your day.
Gotcha.
นี่เมียมึงอ่ะเนี่ย
Oh, come on.
แหม
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
ไม่
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
เชี่ยโอ้โหมึงเล่นกันอย่างนี้เลยเหรอไม่เอานะโอ้ย
This is a very sad story about the death.
โอ้ยสรุปนะฮะคลายข้อสงสัยแล้วได้อยู่ดีลองกลับไปเล่นไอ้นี่ดีกว่าที่เป็นเรตติ้งนะฮะแต่ว่าต้องเข้าประตูหลายรอบหน่อยที่จริงทางออกใกล้หมดแล้วล่ะ
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
เดี๋ยวลองดูนะฮะ
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
ถ้าสมมติว่าเราให้เรตติ้งมันดีไงมันจะมีอะไรเกิดขึ้นไหมเราจะยังกลับไปเล่น Minecraft เหมือนเดิมไหม
It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley? All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
ลองดูอ่ะ
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this
กด 5 มันจะบอกว่าเราโกห
Would
ก
you
หรือเปล่า
say
เนี่ย
that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
กด 5 ก็จะหาว่ากูประชดปะเนี่ย
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul.
แหมขนาดนั้นเลยเหรอมาจากจิตวิญญาณเลยเหรอ
Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
อ๋อ leaderboard นะฮะ
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would
เก
you?
มเผาเด็กใช่ไหม
Perfect. Let me boot it up.
เกมเผาเด็กเนี่ยมาอีกแล้ว
The baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
เฮ้ยกูกดโยโอ้โหเสียงมันโคตรดังเลยฮะสุดท้ายยังไงเราก็ต้องปล่อยให้ตายอยู่ดีเหรอเชี่ยเล่นกับกูอย่างนี้เลยเหรอโอ้ยไม่ไหวมั่งไม่ไหวมั่งตายเถอะหนูกูเบื่อ
You heartless bastard.
ให้กูกดปุ่มอย่างนี้อยู่4 ชั่วโมงก็ไม่ไหวนะเฮ้ย
Purely to spite me. Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the
แล้วแม่งก็
experience
กลับไป
for me.
Minecraft อีกใช่ไหม
I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose.
เหมือนเป็นการตอบข้อสงสัยตอนนี้คงไม่อะไรมาก
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he hit over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
ถ้าสมมติว่าเดินกลับไปตั้งแต่ตอนนี้จะเป็นอะไรไหมยังไม่เป็นไรนะฮะแต่ผมยังไม่ลองอย่างนี้ไงเลยคิดตั้งแต่ตอนนี้นะลองดูซิ
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
กลับไม่ได้กลับไม่ได้เอนดิ้งมันยังมีเหลืออีกไหมเนี่ยผมว่ามันเริ่มจะไม่เหลือแล้วนะมันเหลืออีกไม่กี่อย่างเองอะเอาใหม่ไหมปิดประตูแม่ง
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his
เขา
responsibility?
ไม่กล้าออกไปนอกห้อง
He had
นะ
never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me.
จะไม่มีทำอะไรทำร้ายฉัน
In
นะ
here I can be happy forever. I will be happy.
กูจะแฮปปี้นะค
Stanley
รับ
waited. Hours passed, then days.
รอเป็นชั่วโมง
Had years gone by? He
นาฬิ
no
กาก็
longer
ยังเหมื
had
อน
the
เดิมอ่ะ
ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
สรุปก็รีเซ็ตเหมือนเดิม โอเคครับผมว่านะมันแป๊บนึงนะโอเคครับผมเจอมาอันหนึ่ง
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. ไม่ใช่ตรงนี้มั้งมันมีอีกหลาย ending นะครับแต่มันค่อนข้างละเอียดหน่อยนึงน่าจะอันนี้แหละมั้งเดี๋ยวลองกลับไปดูก่อนซิอันนี้ละเอียดหน่อยฮะ คือถ้าไม่เล่นละเอียดนี่ไม่รู้เลยเนี่ยเดี๋ยวอันนี้ไปได้เนี่ยแวบโว้ออกได้เว้ย At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Huh? ไม่
Then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is Rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers. นี่มันคับให้เรารีสตาร์ทเลยเนี่ยก็ได้แหมก็อย่างงี้แล้วก็ Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yes.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
โอเคครับเดี๋ยวเราจะจบกันไว้ตรงนี้ก่อนนะครับสำหรับตอนนี้เพราะว่าไอ้พวก ending เนี่ยใกล้หมดแล้วที่เหลือเนี่ยผมคงต้องเดี๋ยวกลับมาดูอีกทีหนึ่งนะครับว่ามันมีอะไรเหลือบ้างนะครับโอเคครับเดี๋ยวไว้เจอกันใหม่ในตอนหน้าครับน่าจะเป็นตอนสุดท้ายแล้วเพราะว่ามันใกล้จะหมดแล้วนะฮะโอเคครับไว้เจอกันใหม่ในตอนหน้าครับสำหรับ The Stanley Parable นะครับ Fuukana-TV ครับไปแล้วครับสวัสดีครับ